You know that feeling right when you're trying to get better at something? Like, maybe perfecting a volleyball serve.
You need the power, yeah, but also that pinpoint accuracy.
Absolutely. It's that constant push for, well, continuous improvement, always trying to be a little bit better.
Yeah, just wanting it isn't quite enough, is it?
No, not really. And some of the stuff we looked at really points this out. You need a clear roadmap.
Which is where goal setting comes in,
Yeah.
specifically the SMART framework.
Exactly. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
So for this deep dive, we've looked at quite a range of official volleyball guidelines, different coaching takes, even stuff from programs like the Canadian Elite Academy.
Yeah, a real mix.
And the idea is to really get into how using these SMART goals can, give you direction and seriously fire up your motivation.
And it's not just for athletes, right? This stuff applies pretty broadly.
Definitely. But sticking with the sports angle for a sec, some coaching materials really talk about being intentional.
Intentionality, like with serving. Yeah, like the difference between just getting it over the net and really placing it with power.
Okay, I see. And well-defined goals, they force you to focus on those little details, the technique.
That's the idea. More focused practice, better results, power and accuracy.
Makes sense. So where do we start? The S.
Let's do it. Specificity. It's not enough to just say, I want to be better.
Right. Vague goals don't really help. The sources are clear on that. You need to define exactly what better looks like.
So instead of hit harder,
Maybe something like increase my spike jump by 2 inches. Or, for accuracy, get 7 out of 10 sets consistently within a foot of the target zone.
okay, much clearer.
And it lines up with how you train skills, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You break things down, the toss, the footwork, the contact point for a serve.
Yeah, you don't just practice serving vaguely.
Specific goals bring that same focus to your actual improvement plan.
Got it. So once you've nailed the specific part, what's next? Knowing if you're getting there.
Exactly. Measurability. How do you, track it?
How do you measure something like power or accuracy?
Well, for power, some sources mention things like vertical jump tests or even radar guns for serve or spike speed.
Like the pros use.
Yeah. And for accuracy, maybe it's simpler, like keeping a chart. How many serves hit zone 5? What's your setting success rate in drills?
So turning it into numbers you can actually see.
Pretty much. And it's interesting because that's kind of what coaches do with performance stats, right? Serving accuracy, hitting percentages.
So you're basically tracking yourself like a coach would.
In a way, yeah. It gives you those benchmarks.
Okay, specific target, check. Way to measure, check. But then, can you actually do it? That's achievability, right?
And this is a big one in the coaching materials we saw. Finding that sweet spot.
Challenging, but not impossible.
Exactly. Beginner learning a jump serve shouldn't aim for the same speed as a seasoned pro. That's just setting yourself up for failure.
Right.
Think about that Canadian Elite Academy program, grouping athletes by skill level. Kind of suggests your goals need to fit where you are now.
So realistic expectations.
Yeah, mostly. Though some philosophies also mention stretch goals. Things that feel just a little out of reach.
To really push yourself.
Right. They can drive serious growth. But you got to be careful. It's a stretch goal, not just a completely unrealistic one. That's key.
Okay, that's a subtle but important difference. Find the challenge, but keep it grounded. Got it. Next is hurry.
Relevance. How does this goal actually help you? Does it fit?
Fit with what? Your overall game.
Yeah, exactly. And your role, maybe. Like if you're a libero, maybe improving your digging accuracy is way more relevant than, say, banging out super fast serves.
Depends on what you need to do for the team or just for your own development.
Right. And this ties into what we saw about individualized training plans. Good coaches tailor things, don't they?
Based on strengths, weaknesses, team strategy.
So a relevant goal is one that directly helps with your specific needs and the bigger picture. Makes sense, right?
It does. And finally, the T. Time bound. Got to have a deadline.
Seems crucial, yeah. The sources really stress this. Get better at passing is, well, it's endless.
No urgency.
None. But increase my good passes on serve received by 10% in the next 6 weeks. Now you've got a target date.
Creates that focus.
And it fits how sports often work, Training blocks, seasons. You track progress over set periods.
To see if you're on track.
Exactly. Though, one article did caution against being too rigid. Skill development isn't always a straight lineup.
Plateaus happen.
Right. So have a time frame, yes, but maybe be a little flexible if needed. Adaptability matters too.
Okay, so that's the SMART framework specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. But how does actually using it help? The whole motivation and direction piece.
Well, what seems compelling is how it just clarifies things. You're not just vaguely trying to improve, you have actual steps, things you can measure.
Takes away the guesswork, makes it less overwhelming.
I think so.
Yep.
And then as you hit those smaller goals, those measurable steps, that feels good, right?
Yeah, a sense of accomplishment.
Exactly. And that feeling fuels your motivation to keep going. The coaching stuff talks a lot about positive reinforcement. Achieving a SMART goal is like built-in reinforcement.
Like building momentum. And I think the sources also mention mental toughness. How does that connect?
Well, having those clear goals, it seems to help athletes stay focused, especially when things get tough, like during a hard practice or if you hit a slump.
Easier to push through when you know why you're pushing.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
It gives you purpose. And something else that came up a lot was self-awareness.
How so?
You can't really set good, smart goals, especially the achievable and relevant parts, if you don't have a pretty honest idea of where you're at right now.
Your current skill level, your strengths, your weaknesses.
Exactly. You need that baseline. And things like reflecting on your performance, asking coaches for feedback, even watching video of yourself. Those things build self-awareness.
So it's kind of a cycle then. Being more self-aware helps you set better goals, and achieving those goals boosts your motivation and maybe your mental toughness, which in turn probably makes you even more aware of what you need to work on next.
Precisely. It's like a positive feedback loop. It reinforces itself.
And it seems like these ideas, they're not just stuck on the volleyball court, are they? There's a practical application elsewhere.
Oh, definitely. The sources hint at this, and it makes intuitive sense. The core ideas of SMART goals, totally universal.
So work, learning a language, a new hobby.
Anything, really. Anywhere you want to improve. It gives you that structure, that effective approach.
And it's not like you set one goal and you're done, right? It's about continuous improvement.
Absolutely. That came through strongly. It's an ongoing journey, not a destination.
It means constantly learning, adapting.
Yeah, being willing to see what's working, what's not, and adjusting your goals or your strategies, seeking out feedback, studying your craft, whatever it is you're doing. It never really stops if you want to keep getting better.
So looking across all these different sources, guidelines, coaching ideas, academy structures, it feels like this SMART framework is, well, a really powerful tool.
It seems that way. It's not just about hitting a target.
It's about getting that direction, finding the motivation.
And building that self-awareness you need to keep improving, whether it's power and accuracy in volleyball, like we talked about, or anything else.
Right. Which brings us to maybe a final thought for you listening.
Yeah.
Think about a skill you're working on right now. Could be anything. What's one specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goal? A SMART goal you could set for yourself, maybe even today.
And maybe just as important, what's one tiny step you could take right now to start moving towards it and tracking it?
Yeah. That first deliberate step using this framework.
It could be the start of some real growth, couldn't it? And a deeper understanding of what you're capable of. Definitely something to think about and explore further.